Good morning. I'm Julio Sainz, along with Mauricio Riveros. Today we'll meet Ahlia Kitwana, who's combined computer programming and career coaching to start her own business.
We hope you'll be inspired.
Celebrating leaders in Rochester's unique and vibrant business community. We'll meet entrepreneurs whose passion and perseverance have helped push through life's challenges. Join us as we share their stories and journeys to success. It's time to be inspired.
Ahlia, thank you very much to be inspired. A show that we developed to interview people like you who are entrepreneurs, who are really the heart of Rochester, people who are figuring it out, and we love those stories. And Ahlia, today we want to learn more about you. Tell us, who is Ahlia?
Who is Ahlia? That is a great question. I am a business owner and newly minted entrepreneur. So I'll say I've been off on my own for a year. So I'm a year in right now. I am a mother of three and a wife and a native Rochesterian.
That is wonderful. So you grew up in Rochester and be able to be in the community here. So tell us a little bit how that decision came to start your business. You know, it's some of the most scary things sometimes is, hey, I prefer just work under somebody, receive my paycheck and be comfortable. But you are taking this step of faith to be able to build your own business. So tell us a little bit about how that decision came.
It's a very long story. I'm going to try to give you the abbreviated story. So I went to school for electrical engineering, and I worked as an electrical engineer for a year. But they had me like in a lab with no windows and no people to talk to, just looking at data, and I was not very suited for that kind of work. So I moved to New York City, and I eventually started teaching high school math in Harlem for a couple of years. And then I got married. I fell in love, got married, started a family, and then I switched back to engineering. But I did a different type of engineering. So the first time I did electrical. The second time I did what is called reliability engineering, which is just failure analysis. And I worked as a reliability engineer for over 10 years. And I got to a point when they were asking me to do things that were not necessarily aligned with my moral compass, or it just didn't feel right to me anymore. And so that's kind of when I started questioning whether or not this is something I wanted to do for the long term, and this is how I wanted to make my mark in the world. And through that process of questioning and discernment, I started Little Black Buddha, which was kind of, I originally started it as a blog, and it evolved into a career services company. And now I'm also developing software to complement that.
And that's such a unique name, Little Black Buddha. Where does that name come from?
Where does that name come from? It's an interesting name. It's the ethos of what I do and what we do at Little Black Buddha is I specialize in helping people change careers because I've done that so many times, and in that discernment process. And the Buddhist part of a Buddhist philosophy is that everybody has an inner Buddha or a Buddha inside of them, and if you make it more palatable for all walks of spiritual life, it just means that all of us have some sort of inner divine that we can tap into, and that the answers that you're seeking are really already inside of you, and we guide them to figuring out what those answers are and what that path is for the individual.
So with COVID-19, a lot of people are laying off, or people are reinventing themselves. So how your consulting service can help them to identify what is the right new step in their life. So give us some elements and some ideas for our audience, is what they need to be thinking, what are the principles that they need to follow. People are, again, laying off, and now what do they do?
Right. So, yeah, we have a lot of downtime that we can use, and I would recommend that we use that time to kind of to turn inward. When I start with clients, the first thing that I start with is what are their values, like what is important to you, and whether or not that those values are present in your life. So there's realistic values, and there's like aspirational values, right? So a person may say that, oh, I value family time or quality family time. And what really happens is during dinner, everybody's on Facebook or on their individual devices, and somebody's over here having a conversation on a cell phone. So if the quality family time is not really reflected in reality, or grounded in reality, then it's more aspirational. So I typically push people to be very real about what is happening for them right now. And then we get very real about where they want to be. So if they really do want to be in that quality time space with their family, how do we get there? Likewise for your career, if you want to make an impact in your community, and you're undermining your community in some way knowingly, then is that really the career or job for you? And can you make an impact in another way, or move towards making an impact in another way, by going to another position, or picking up a new project, or volunteering someplace?
Very interesting. And at what point do you feel, how important do you feel it is when you talk to people and they're trying to prepare that next step, to maintain some type of linear narrative in what they work? Or do you think you can drastically change what it is that you do? Can you go from being an accountant to being, I don't know, a social worker? I mean, what advice would you give to people that are thinking of making a drastic change? Can you do that, or do you have to really try to stay within, a similar space?
I say you can definitely do that. For me, I always say the sky's the limit, but it also depends on the person and what their comfort level is. So I think you said something about comfort at the beginning, whereas, like you could stay at a job and be comfortable and get a regular paycheck. Regular paychecks really are nice, like, having a steady income is a good thing. But it's different for every person. So some people may be comfortable not getting a regular paycheck, and then some that may scare the living daylights out of some other people. So it depends on the individual, I would say, first of all, and where they are. I don't know, like mentally and emotionally too, because one big thing I take into consideration right now is that everybody is having a challenging time, right? So we're all going through some sort of transition at this moment in time, and the difference between all of us, it's like a big worldwide collective like transition that nobody asked for. But we're all dealing with it differently depending on who we are and what tools we already have. So if somebody wanted to go from accountant to social worker, they can most certainly do it. They can't do it necessarily overnight. Like there's training that has to take place, and they have to get acclimated to a different culture. But it's doable. It just takes more work.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about you are in the process to get certified as a minority and woman-owned business. So tell us that experience, that aspect. I know there's a lot of African American, Hispanic, Asians
Mm-hmm.
who want to start their thing, and maybe you can give some advice in your own experience.
Yes, and I got help filling out that application. So another big thing. So like I said, relationships are everything in your career or building a business. So to get that process going, it looks like PTAC, Monroe County, Finger Lakes, PTAC, they offer assistance in filling out that application, and it is like it's a pretty involved application. I want to say I would put it up there with my mortgage application. It may not have been as much paperwork as my mortgage, but it was pretty involved. But they offer free services to help you fill out that application, and the gentleman who assisted me met with me. I want to say we met like 4 times for an hour, so about 4 hours altogether. In addition to me collecting all the paperwork to get it done.
Excellent. Well, that's very important, right? Because you went through the steps, and now you are close to get the certification.
Yeah, I heard it takes like 15 months though, so I put it in June, so maybe sometime in 2021 I'll have that complete too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's one of the things that they can work on speeding up. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about technology. Being that that's such a big part of your background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you see the technology part helping with some of the career parts of what it is that you do, the advisement?
Coaching rather is very relational rather. But putting it into a software package, or what I'm doing is taking the tools and the methods that I use in my coaching practice and putting that into a software package. And in doing that, it'll allow me to scale what I do and get those tools into the hands of a lot more people than just like a one-on-one, or if I did a class with 30 people, instead of impacting 30 people, I could impact 3,000 or 30,000, or the packaging it as a software allows me to scale basically.
Well, thank you, Ahlia. We'll be back with more after these messages. I see. So eventually you would have some type of software or process that people would go through, and it'll help speed up the process of helping them identify career options.
It'll streamline it. It will streamline it. It will allow me to touch more people than I would if I were just coaching individually. I would not necessarily say there's a speedy answer. So I'll tell you about Pathways. Pathways is what I'm developing now. And that is a software platform that I'm designing to help young people ages 18 to 24 figure out what their career path is. And it takes them about 3 months. Right now, it takes about 3 months to complete, because one of the modules, they have to actually go out and do a job, or like I call it experimenting or prototyping, but they have to actually go and like apply for a job and do the job and say they like it or they don't like it. So that it's not a quick process at all. I wish I could say I'm doing this quiz and you'll figure it out in 20 minutes.
That's good. That's deep learning.
But I'm not.
That's good. It's meaningful. A lot of people, you take these 5-minute quiz and it answers your life's questions, and it's not really doing that. But
right.
A longer process like that does sound like it would give people good, structured answers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I wish I had like a magic pill or.
Talking about magic and talking about future, I know you don't have a crystal ball,
Mhm.
but how do you see the coming 5 years after this COVID thing hopefully goes away, and who knows how that goes, but in terms of the careers and in terms of employment in general in Rochester, New York, you are very
Mm.
connected now with career opportunities and all that. How do you see the future?
Well, and I'm going to be talking to some people in a couple of days about how that is going to change. But my hope, like, wait, especially with the platform that I'm developing, it's for what I told you I taught high school and I've also taught at MCC, but what I'm noticing is that like K through 12, like a lot of our educational system is designed to prepare people for college, like a 4-year college, and then go out and get a degree. But the reality is that like 40%, 30 to 40% of the US population has a college degree. So what happens with the other 60%? And and I think we really need to address that. And so in the local economy and the US economy at large, um, being a lot more intentional and giving the 60% of the population other options. That's what I want to give them, is like other alternatives to college, or um, they can start their own business, or they could pick up a trade. There's nothing wrong with any of these other options, but they're not being presented fully to the young people in a way that allows us to build a life. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm hoping to like open that up for more people in the next 5 years.
You know, here on the show, we've interviewed lots of people from different programs that train people for the trades and for all these other opportunities that don't necessarily go through the 4-year institution.
Right.
And that's okay. There's tons of opportunities and lots of
Right.
opportunities. So, no, I'm really happy to hear that that's part of the process that you're working on. That's fantastic. Now you're from Rochester. And you moved away and everything. And so, how do you think Rochester is as far as an environment for entrepreneurship and startups versus other cities?
I've never, unfortunately, I've never started a company in another city. So I only have Rochester to go with. I am getting to know the ecosystem here. It's super supportive. I am not, or maybe I'm being undercut and I just don't know it yet. But everybody that I've encountered and spoken to or just asked questions has been very receptive and helpful. I've gotten lots of introductions. I met great people. I'm meeting you guys. Um, so as far as Rochester goes, as for an entrepreneur, I think there are a lot of resources, and you have to ask, right? That's the big, where are the resources, or what can I do to get to this point, or just ask. I ask a lot of questions basically, and do a lot of Zoom coffee meetings, and before COVID there were a lot of other coffee meetings, but I so far a year in, I would say there's a good amount of resources. Um, I have definitely tapped into resources outside of Rochester. I have, entrepreneur friends like in New York City who have tied me into some other opportunities. So I don't necessarily limit myself to the Rochester ecosystem, but I would say it's very solid here as far as I can tell.
Definitely, Rochester is one of the most amazing places in terms, with Julio, we interview a lot of organizations that are supporting and helping, like you mentioned, PTEX, and there are other organizations who are there for you to help if you want to start a business, if you want to get some microloans, and there are a lot of resources available. And I think that's very important to communicate and really let people know that there are possibilities, that Rochester is a great city, it's a great place, and has significant resources. And we have an incredible talent too. You have a lot of resources with the universities and all that around. So, thank you so much for being inspired today. We really appreciate your insights and your expertise. Clearly, we see a great future in your organization. I think you are getting in something that is super needed in our community. And I am sure that we will have you back in our show to learn how your organization has grown and how you will continue to contribute in this community. Thank you very much for being inspired.
Thank you.
Coming up next week on Be Inspired, we'll meet Mag Wagstaff, who's launched his own printing business 10 years ago to spread positive messages in the community.
To watch today's episode and the complete interviews of our guests, go to rochesterfirst.com/beinspired. For more great talk with Rochester's entrepreneurs, listen to Poder 97.1 Saturdays at 9 a.m. For Mauricio Riveros, I'm Julio Saenz. We'll see you next week on Be Inspired.